Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Gauranga bolite habe Pulaka sarira Hari Hari bolite nai Yane babe nira Gauranga bolite habe Pulaka sarira Hari Hari bolite nai Nayane bhavriya Araka benitai chande Karuna hoibe Antara vachana mora Tabe tukshahabe Araka benitai chande Karuna hoibe Samsara vasana mora Kabe tuchhame Vishaya chariya kabe Sudahave mana Kabe hamahira boshe Vishaya chariya kabe Sudahave mana Kabe hamadera bose Shri Vrindavana Rupa Raghunatha pade Vaibe akuti Kabe hama bhuja bose Yugala piriti Rupa Raghunatha pade Aive akuti Kabe hama bhuja bose Yugala piriti Rupa Raghunatha pade Raho mora asha Ratana kore sada Narotamadasa Rupa Raghunatha pade Raho mora asha Ratana karaya sana Narotamadasa Gauranga bolite habe Pulaka sarira Hari Hari bolite Yane babe nira Gauranga bolite habe Pulaka sarira Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe. Oh, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nityananda Raya, Nityananda Rai, Nitai Hai, Nitai Hai, Nitai Hai, Nitai Hai, Nitai Hai. Oh, Gaura Hai, 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 Gaura Hai. Oh, Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Radha, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Prabhishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Prabhishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gauri Kishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Arupa Nuga Guru Vargya Ki Jai Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyamapeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravobinistam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanastikatyena Kapi Tabai Vasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Rate Tvam Naimam Charanantikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and our most beloved Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. So, coming back to our study of this immaculate scripture, Jaiva Dharma, the last 4 verses, right?
Hmm.
Is it?
Yes.
Jaiva
Deva
Dhamma
Dharma
Pate
Pate se
Se
Shuddha
Shuddha Bhakti
Bhakti Hoy,
Hoy
Jaiva
Jaiva
Dharma
Dhamma Na
Na
Padile
Padile
Kabe
Kabo Bhakti
Bhakti
Noy.
Noy.
One who reads Jaiva Dharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva Dharma can never attain Bhakti.
So the words of the Mahapurush, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, are Satya Sankalpa. That means they must be true. So he's saying that we will attain Shuddha Bhakti if we faithfully read this book. This means with faithful deliberation. Means considering every aspect according to its order, its position. It's like a ladder from the beginning to the very end. It's going towards the explanations of the deepest, most esoteric topics of the Astakalya Lila in the 38th chapter. This is where we're going. We're going in this direction. We're starting off with Sambandha Gyan, first 10, 12 chapters. Then this Das Mula that we're studying now. So it's very methodical. It's very systematic where Bhaktivinoda Thakur is taking us. He has an intention. His intention is to give the conditioned souls in this very fallen age of Kali an opportunity to walk forward according to the precepts and ontology of Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami, exactly according to their line. Rupa Nuga Abhiman
Viman
Pate
Phate
Drita
Drida
Hoy
Hoy, Jaiva
Jaivadama
Dharma
Vimuka
Vimuka
Ke
Ke
Dharma
Dharma
Hina
Hina
Koi.
Koi. Faithfully reading Jaiva Dharma will surely strengthen one's Abhiman as a Rupanuga, follower of Sri Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious
So we've
principles.
already discussed what is Ragatmika, what is Raganuga, and what is Rupanuga. So they're quite 3 distinct terminologies that we have to become totally proficient in understanding. Rupanuga, we are following the precepts of Rupa Goswami. And Swarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda are not Rupanugas because they're not following what Rupa Goswami is teaching because they're older than Rupa Goswami. They're like Lalita and Vishaka. Rupa Goswami is Rup Manjari. So this line is only a Manjari line. It's a very selective line coming from Mahaprabhu. This Swabhakti Shriyam, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunai Bharatinokula. Not for a long, long time has this offering being made for the conditioned souls to actually embrace this Manjari Bhav. It's inconceivable when we really consider it. What we're trying to achieve is at least an impression of this, my Gurudev used to say, an impression in this birth. So to have the aspiration at the time of leaving this body for this seva directly to Sri Radhika, if we have that aspiration, then we come right in the line under the tutelage of Rupa Goswami. So Raganuga, Rupanuga, and Rag Atmika. The Rag Atmikas, their Atma is soaked in Rag. Even it's described that Hanumanji is a Ragatmika Bhakta because his um, Atma is soaked in Rag for Ram. So this is the meaning of Rag Atmika. But the Raganugas are aspiring to follow in the footsteps of the Ragatmikas. So we have to be crystal clear on these terminologies, and then we can be easily able to absorb what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving. Java
Java
Jivane
Jivane
Se Pada
Pade
Jaiva
Jaiva
Dharma
Dharma,
Bhakti Man
Bhakti
Se
Se
Janavrita
Janavrita
Jnana
Jnana
Karma.
Karma. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of Gyan and Karma.
So throughout his entire life, I've said many times, I've read this Jaiva Dharma a number of times. And every single time I turn a new page, I feel as if I've never read it before. So many times I've read it. I had to proof it right in the very early days. I narrated it. So many times I've read it, I've come in contact with it, but still, this is the nature of transcendental literature. It's ever fresh. So for the rest of our lives, we should always consider having the Jaiva Dharma close at hand. Because however much we've read of it, we still want to unpack newer and newer appreciations about the different topics of Jiva Tattva, Maya Tattva, Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, Shakti Tattva. All of these tattvas, Rasa Tattva, are there. And we need to keep on refreshing them as the circumstances, the time comes up for us to do that. In different situations, we need different infusions of these tattvas. So it's always going to be there for our whole life. Krishnera Ramala
Amal
Seva
seva
Labi
labi se
Senara
nara
Seva
seva
Sukya Magna
sukhamagna
Rahasara
sayara
Krishna
para.
Para.
Such a man, being fully devoted to Shri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore, and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service.
This is the opportunity that we have to reach an eternal destination, a destination beyond this material world, beyond this material mind, beyond this material body. That eternal realm is like where we are, and we have embarked for that goal of eternality. And what is the nature of that goal? It's the activity of the soul in service to Krishna, in contrast to the totally void conception of Nirvishesh Brahm, where there's no activity for the soul. The soul is just in Shantaras, na sochati na kanchati. He doesn't want anything. He's completely satisfied. But there's no activity. How can we function without it? And where there must be activity, there must be the ingredient of priti, of love. And love is a verb, to love. So what is the object of our attraction and affection? Because we may study a lot, we may read a lot, we may chant a lot, but has the goal become crystal clear to us where I am going? To the Amala Prem Seva, to that seva is the symptom of love, we've said so many times. So this Amal Prem Seva, this awaits us. This is our conclusion. Yeah. Sorry? Amal, this pure, absolutely pure. Amala. We say, what's that? Shrimad Bhagavatam Pramanam. Amalam Prema. This pure, absolutely pure, crystal clear.
Is
Nirmala. Like the gopis.
Prahalad a Raga Bhakta?
Huh?
Is Prahalad a Raga Bhakta?
He's a Siddha. And yes, he's a Rag Atmika because he's a spiritual Siddha. He's a Parika of Nrsingadev. He's an eternal servant of Lord Nrsingadev.
But
He's a Siddha.
You just said people in Shantaras, you don't have Shantaras.
That's different. That's the Shantaras in the Brahmajyoti. There's the Shantaras in Brahmajyoti,
Okay.
and then there's the Shantaras in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, all the residents are either in Shantaras or Dasyaras, or a little bit of Sakyaras. These are the rasas of Vaikuntha. But that Shantaras in Vaikuntha has a relationship with Lord Narayan. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in Vaikuntha. But the Shantaras of in the Brahmajyoti is considered a neutral. Neutral means there's no object to their affection, their attraction. Neutral. Because there's no actual manifestation of affection to an object. But that Shantaras, there's no Shantaras in Golok
So all
Vrindavan.
the associates in the spiritual world are Ragatmika Bhaktas.
Yes. Yes. That means that their Atma is soaked in attraction for Krishna. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the spiritual world.
Because you just
How
said,
else could they be in the spiritual? What is the nature of the spiritual world? We read in the 16th chapter. It's love alone.
love.
So what is the nature of that love towards the object, either Lord
Because
Narayan?
when you were telling just now, you told even Hanuman is Ragatmika.
Ragatmika Bhakti, yes.
So the Hanuman is he's got naturally spontaneous love towards
Ram.
Ram.
Yes. It's a natural attraction. So this is the nature. Okay? Okay, so I think we're on page 489. And we began to discuss the adhikar for this rag. And first we discussed the adhikar for Vaidhi Bhakti. And the adhikar for Vaidhi Bhakti was faith that is covered with rules and regulations by behaving according to vidhi. Vidhi means like the rules and the regulations. So having complete faith in the rules and regulations, and that is prompted by fear and respect and reverence. These are the qualities of the Vaidhi Bhaktas. But we should understand that we are all performing Vaidhi Bhakti very, very clearly. Don't try to imagine that we're something more than this. If we try to imagine that we're something beyond this, and we haven't even controlled our senses properly, this is completely bogus and will just lead to a sahajiya mentality. This mood of trinada peace must always be there, very, very strong, and realizing, yes, but also realizing my aspiration is for that rag marg. That is my aspiration. But externally, I am fully, I said the other day, this, what was that? Rag praviti vaidhi bhakti. My Gurudev has said like this, rag praviti. That means I'm putting rag in the forefront of my focus of desire to achieve rag. But I am practicing vaidhi marg. Even when I've actually reached a stage, like I've described many times of Raghunath Das, his adherence to the vidhi, the rules and regulations, was like lines carved in a stone. And I described about my own Gurudev. He never for a single moment deviated from the absolute strictures of the Shastra, not for half a millionth of a second. So we must be very clear on this. And we should not attempt in any way to try to artificially exhibit ourselves as being on this path. This is sahajiya also, to artificially pretend that we are on that path when in fact we are not on that path. So actually in this beautiful bhajan that we just sang, Narottam Das, he's giving the whole sketch of this rag path. This is why I wanted to sing this today. He's saying that first in the first verse, his desire is for Raganuga Bhakti, which is when his hairs are standing on end, tears are flowing from his eyes. This is when he's achieved a very exalted stage of Bhav Bhakti. So this Raganuga is there in the first verse. That's the aspiration. So first of all, we have to have the aspiration. If we don't know where we're going, how are we going to proceed there? And then he comes in the second verse and he's beseeching Nityananda Prabhu's mercy to help him control his material desires. Because without the control of the material desires, it's saying, when will the moonlight Nityananda Prabhu bestow his mercy upon me? Understanding that we have to have mercy bestowed upon us to be purified of our material desires. When will my material desires become insignificant? So he's going through stage by stage. First verse is actually what is the goal. Second stage, calling for Nityananda Prabhu to help me purify my material desires. The second stage, the second stage is actually wanting to behold Vrindavan Dham. You cannot behold Vrindavan Dham if the consciousness is obscured by material desires. You'll just see the pigs eating the stool and you'll see all kind of anomalies in Vrindavan. You won't see the Dham. You'll see the material aspect of the Dham. You won't see the real holy Dham with its utter brilliance and purity. So in order to do that, then it's saying, when will my mind, as a result of my renouncing material enjoyment, when will the mind become purified? So we know when our mind is purified and when it's not purified. The consciousness will know when it's purified, but it's never purified sufficiently. It's a moving dynamic of purification. You can never reach a stage, oh yes, my mind is purified. It's always in process of becoming more purified, like Sharanagati itself. And then I will be able to behold Vrindavan. This is what he's saying in the third verse. In the fourth verse, what is that beholding Vrindavan? Beholding Vrindavan is only through the lens of Rupa and Raghunath. Only through the vision of Rupa and Raghunath. If I'm embracing their teachings, then I will see Vrindavan. They are the masters. Rupa Goswami is the Abhideya Acharya, but he also gives all the Prayojan teachings. Raghunath Das is completely the Prayojan Acharya. He's given the Vilap Kusumanjali, etc. So many incredible directions, Manashiksha, how to see Vrindavan. So we see Vrindavan through the eyes of our Guru Vargya, particularly Rupa and Raghunath. And then we can actually have darshan of Vrindavan. This is what Narottam is craving. This is lalasamayi, the mood of greed. Rag means greed, hunger, thirst, great thirst, we've just read. This is what it means. And then the last verse, Rupa Raghunath Pade Rahu Mora, let all my hopes and aspirations remain at the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath. Everything I have and all my aspirations and all my hopes are going to be guided by Rupa and Raghunath. In other words, I'm not doing anything at all independently of the direction of our Guru Vargya. If I go 1 inch out and want to develop something solitary, alone, separate from our Guru Vargya, we are destined to fail. It cannot be successful. Rupa and Raghunath are sitting in that transcendental realm. When we achieve that transcendental realm in some future lifetime, we will come under the tutelage of Rupa and Raghunath then, even in the transcendental realm. They will be directing us how to perform our Amal Prem Seva. A disease of the Western world in particular is to do it my way. Isn't it? Isn't that the disease? People have that tendency, no, I'll do it my way. I'll do it how my heart tells me to do it. But what is the heart if it's not purified into transcendence? My Gurudev used to say many times, it seems like the heart and mind are on one side and transcendence and the Guru Vargya is on the other. So we mustn't be, this is why we're reading Jaiva Dharma, to be able to discern the distinction between my sentimental conceptions of my own idea and the actual transcendental reality gifted by initially Mahaprabhu, who inspired Rupa Goswami, etc. All of it. So this bhajan, we should consider, and so many bhajans are the same. They're walking us through step by step by step. And remember always, none of this can be faked. I said this the other day. It's not an artificial. Even Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, in his very first record he made of the Hare Krishna, he said this is not an artificial imposition of the soul. It's not something that you put over the soul. It's the actual nature of the soul. If you're trying to imitate, and many do, because they want that goal. So they're dressing or acting in such a way to give the impression to themselves that they actually have something of that goal. But in reality, perhaps they have nothing. And it can lead to a very disastrous end. So ruthless honesty is necessary. And that will be inspired simply by the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. If we take shelter of the holy name of the Lord seriously, diligently, the process is going to bring out the very core of our identity just through the chanting. I mean, it's actually, in one sense, so simple, but we make it so complex because of our envy, ultimately. It's the enviousness of this material world that we are purifying ourselves of. So all these considerations should be there. But we can't artificially or foolishly try to jump any of these stages. Okay, we'll go from, I think we'll go from Babaji. When one hears about the intensely sweet bhavs of the Brijabasis,
Brajanath, what are the symptoms of such lobe?
yes.
Babaji.
So we just described the greed that Narottam Das is crying out for. And we should consider that all these personalities that we're hearing from are our greatest friends. When we pick up the books of Narottam, the books of Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, we should try to fill our whole consciousnesses with these personalities. And imagine these personalities are sitting, riding with us. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he even said himself, he reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art living in sound. Always they're living. Always the Vaishnava doesn't die. So when we come closely in contact with these divine scriptures, realize that those personalities will manifest with the, according to the depth of our sincerity.
When one hears about the intensely sweet bhavs uh,
Of the Brijbasis.
of the Brajavasis, one's intelligence, buddhi apeksha, begins to consider how one may enter into those dealings. That desire, apeksha, is the symptom that lobe has awakened.
So last Saturday, I explained many things about the pastimes of Krishna, etc., particularly the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. All the cantos are leading to the 10th canto to demonstrate that identity of Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar, particularly the Brijvasis and particularly, of course, the Gopis. The Gopis express the highest exhibition of love known to man, and we are in their anugatya. Always it's the Gopis that I'm considering. In every page that I'm reading, I'm looking for a scent, because that is what will attract Krishna's mercy. If Krishna considers that you're interested in the Gopis, in their love, that is going to attract Krishna's mercy, for sure.
A person who has the adhikar for Vaidhi Bhakti tests everything on the platform of intelligence, knowledge of Shastra, and reasoning. And when he hears Krishna Katha, he only accepts it if these three support it. However, there is no such consideration in Rag Marg, for intelligence, knowledge of Shastra, and reasoning are not desired on this path. All
Don't
that
think
is
that's an excuse not to study.
hmm,
Don't think this is, oh, I don't have to do anything. How will you develop attraction for the Gopis if you don't read about the Gopis? Just by your imagination? How will you develop that attraction without immersing yourselves in the books of, say, Rupa Goswami? How will you develop? Or the 10th canto of Bhagavatam? How is it possible? Or hearing from the Rasik Vaishnavas?
all that is needed is the greed for the sentiments of the
So
Vrajavasis.
that just doesn't happen by itself. There has to be chesta and kripa. There has to be effort, and mercy will come. So what is the nature of our effort? To always be remembering Vrindavan. Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtano. Rupa Goswami has written the essence of all advice. Tishtem Braje Tanuragi Janugami. He's saying directly that to be following in the footsteps. Who are the Brijabasis that we're following? It's the Gopis of Braj that we're following. And their absolute Sharanagat initially, and the extent of their attraction for Krishna, they are prepared to do anything to please Krishna, even to be angry with Krishna. That is also a demonstration of their attraction to Krishna.
when they're angry with Krishna, when they boldly reprimand Krishna in different ways at different times, Krishna becomes very happy for that. He's very pleased for that. If he was just dealing with all little sympathetic mice, that wouldn't be very much moving for him. But he's actually associating with these his own shaktis, and they have minds and consciousnesses. They have, immense gifts that come out during certain circumstances in all the different rasas that Krishna performs with them. And sometimes they become very angry with him. Sometimes they chastise him, tell him to go back to that lover that he was with. He comes with all marks on his face. Oh, you go back to that. She's waiting for you. Why are you coming in here even? They can be really harsh and cutting, it appears. But Krishna likes that. So it's not a wishy-washy type of leela that the gopis are involved in. It's something very selective and incredible, but we have to read about it at some point.
All that is needed is the greed for the sentiments of the Vrajavasis. What are the sweet bhavs of the Vrajavasis towards Krishna? Is it possible for me to obtain such bhavs? How can this be obtained? This intense yearning is the symptom of greed, and one who does not have it does not have the adhikar for raganuga bhakti. This you should understand.
So we should examine ourselves honestly and see, do we have the enthusiasm for this or not? And if we don't have it, and if we don't want it, then perhaps go to another group. Perhaps go to the Ramanujas, my Gurudev used to say, if that's not your desire. But this Gaudiya line is prepared to gift this. This is within, it's contained within the Gaudiya line, if we have a little desire for it.
Brajanath, what is the process of raganuga bhakti? Babaji, the sadhak who has developed greed towards the beautiful service mode, seva of a particular Vrajavasi, always remembers and meditates on his seva to that personality.
So that can be in the form of Subal or Sridham or Stoka Krishna. That can be a form of Sakyaras. This is what he's referencing here. He's not specifically saying here that it's following the gopis here. I am saying that. And my Gurudev would say like that. And Rupa Goswami would encourage that. But at the same time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making a very broad presentation here, because we're going to find that Brajanath himself, he wants to take the cows out grazing with Subal. That's his staibar. That's what he wants to do. So that is also built into this sentence here.
He is absorbed in the mutual pastimes of his beloved Sri Krishna with that Vrajavasis, and he constantly resides in Vraj, either physically or within the mind.
So I said the other day that if the mind is honestly focusing on Vrindavan, the mind is situated in the region of the heart. So if the heart is actually focusing on Vrindavan, then the feet will follow the heart and come to Vrindavan more and more and more, and take up residence either in Vrindavan or in Gordam, which is non-different, and then live in an atmosphere where this is tangibly manifesting around us. And through our prayer and serious meditation, we can connect with that transcendental atmosphere through the process, carefully, strictly following the process. It's at our fingertips. It's all in our desire. We should consider we have one short lifetime, and we're blessed to have a human birth. We have the capacity in this human birth to actually absorb these truths. In Swagaloka and other lokas, you're actually restricted. The devas are queuing up to take birth here. In the lower regions, they have no conception of this. It's only on this planet, karma yoni, the species who incur karma, and in the human form, and in the educated human form, educated in these matters, that we have this opportunity. So it's very rare. And how long will our life last? How much time do we have? to actually absorb truly all of these remarkable truths. Not so long. There has to be some utkanta, some urgency.
Having agreed to obtain his or her bhav, he follows that Vrajavasi's example and always renders seva in two ways. Externally, he serves as a practicing sadhaka, and internally he renders seva with the bhavs, bhavan, bhavna purvaka of his siddha deha. This is the process of raganuga
Seva
bhakti.
sadak rupena siddharupena chatrahi tad bhav lipsana karya braje lokanash rata. That there is the sadhak's consideration and there is the siddha consideration. They are both quite distinct. Like Raghunath, he would perform his sadhan by writing, but in his siddha sarya, then he was rolling on the bank of Radhakund. And the same with all of the Goswamis. They have their inner and their outer. So there's a distinction between, and for the inner, that is completely 1,000,000% confidential. That does not have to be useless to be expressed to anybody else. That's something we personally will cultivate ourselves. That's like our property, so to speak. If you try and open the box, my Gurudev described it as like you're making camphor in a room to purify the room, then you open all the windows and all the camphor will go out. All the potency and the fragrance will just leave. So if you're having any type of realization, even in the, I think it's the 3rd or the 4th chapter, when Vaishnav Das, he has that spurti of Sundara Chal, and he sees all the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Nityasiddha Parikas, etc. And his first thought is, oh, I must share this with my Gurudev the next day. And then he thinks straight away, oh, but my Gurudev has cautioned, don't share these things, not even with Guru. And then he has a beautiful dream where Guru understands everything that actually went on anyway. So you don't have to relate these confidential topics to anybody. They are our own. It's one of the big defects of this age is that because of our insecurities, we try and shore up our various reputations by trying to share something very extreme and high beyond our own adhikar. So we have to always consider these points in our practice carefully.
Vrajanath, what is the relationship between Raganuga Bhakti and the Angas of Vaidhi Bhakti?
So we've already, oh, this is very good, yes. Go on.
Babaji, the Angas of Vaidhi Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, and so on, are also included in the Raganuga Sadhaka's practice. The Sadhaka follows the eternal residence of Vraj, and consequently, he tastes the eternal bliss of service. At the same time, he observes the Angas of Vaidhi Bhakti with his external body.
So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Shravanam, hearing. It's like this beautiful verse, Vikriti tam brajavadubi ichamta Vishnu, Shadanvitu nushrunyat artavaranyamya, Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya karma, Hridroga masab apinoti acharena dira. This is the last verse of the Rasa Panchadya, the 5 chapters on the Ras Leela, when Shukadev is saying that one must hear these pastimes first. So hearing is Shravan. And then one should speak these pastimes, but speak the pastimes that are within our own adhikar to those people who are of that same adhikar, not beyond our eligibility. So then kirtan is the speaking of that. And then smaranam will come, remembrance of that. So this is the process. First we hear, and then the kirtan is the speaking of this. This verse is actually saying that first we should hear these topics and then pure bhakti will arise. Not that we try to purify our material existence to come to a state where we have controlled all our senses, etc., and then we imagine pure bhakti will come in that condition. No, first I have to know what is the nature of pure bhakti. If it's going the other way around, it's almost like a yogi. It's that aroha panta. It's like climbing, thinking that I'm doing it by my own effort. I'm controlling my senses, so and so and so. It's like Astanga yoga. It's like very strictly controlling to achieve a goal. But first of all, the goal has to be fully appreciated. Like we said in this beautiful bhajan of Narottam Das, Gauranga Balite, this Habe Pulata Sarira, that this his hairs are standing on end. Right at the very beginning, he's saying like that. So we should appreciate that. So this Shravanam Kirtanam and Smaranam, these are the angas that we've described, and how are they applicable in the path of the practicing Rag Sadhak?
Vrajanath, please explain the glories of Raganuga Bhakti. Babaji, Raganuga Bhakti very quickly bestows that fruit which one cannot obtain even by observing the angas of Vaidhi Bhakti with firm faith, Nishta, for a long time.
There's a very beautiful verse by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Vidi Bhakti Ratna Jane, Swadhinatna Ratna Dane, Rag Mag Karuna Pravesh. And this is saying that when the, I'll read you the exact translation because I want you to hear it properly. It's saying Krishna eventually bestows the jewel of independence unto those persons who strictly adhere to the path of rules and regulations, thus allowing them entrance into the path of spontaneous loving devotion. So first of all, we have to very carefully, but at the same time as carefully observing the rules and regulations, we are desiring in our hearts to actually serve those Brijbasis. At the same time, our ears are open to hearing those pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Every day we're seeing the deities of Radha and Krishna. Every day we're having darshan of Radha and Krishna. What are we thinking about when we're seeing Radha and Krishna? You know, the sensitive sadhak is going to be wondering, what is the relationship between Radha and Krishna? What is the nature of that prem? Because the entire nature of that prem is described by Rupa Goswami, especially in Ujjvala Nilamani and in Vidagdha Madhav. I mean, that relationship is so extraordinary, that transcendental relationship, and we can move in that direction to hear about that relationship. So when we see Thakurji in the morning, what are we thinking? What is our consciousnesses? And then Mahaprabhu often is standing right beside. So Mahaprabhu is that personality who is going to be responsible for bringing us in this age into that Vrindavan conception through his teachings, through his actions, through his Shikshastakam. In the Shikshastakam, everything is there. So we should see the atmosphere around us is incredibly favorable to achieve this goal. Mahaprabhu Krishna, the Supreme Personality, has arranged it this way. He's arranged all of these supports for us to actually walk in that direction. What sort of individual would not go that route? If everywhere around it's all being shown clearly, all the principal books of Rupa, etc., Rupa and Raghunath, practically all the bhajans that we sing, and yet there are so many who don't even talk about these topics. So appreciate it if you're blessed with the enthusiasm to hear about these topics and even read this Jaiva Dharma. Then we're well on the road.
Devotion on the Vaidhi Marg is weak because it depends on rules and regulation, whereas Raganuga Bhakti is naturally strong because it is completely independent.
Therefore, it is not artificial. It's completely unique because it's the nature of the soul. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana nitya siddhyasya bhavasya. Nitya siddhyasya. This nitya siddha aspect is eternally residing in the heart of the jiva. So that is the place of consciousness that the jiva wants to put his focus, the nature of the soul, and remain in that state. And then he can, and that place is very, very strong because of its spontaneity. Whereas the rules and regulations are practically sometimes like you're in the army. Do this, do that, do this, do that, and so on and so on, you know? It's like it's moving out of fear. Sometimes it's described out of duty, but duty is like fear, we've explained.
When one adopts the spiritual conception of following in the footsteps of a loving resident of Vraj, Rag is awakened, which always involves following the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, and Atmanivedanam. Ruchi for following in the footsteps of the Vrajavasis is only awakened in those whose arts are nirguna, beyond material attributes. This is why the greed for Raganuga Bhakti is supremely rare and the root of supreme auspiciousness.
So rare. Understand, it's really, really rare. We're hearing about it now, and perhaps in 15, 20 years' time, something might start to make more sense about my own life and my practicing of that. It'll gradually filter into the consciousness. It's not going to happen straight away. It's a gradual evolution of the consciousness is how it works. But if I'm not hearing about these topics, how will I be inspired in that direction? I won't be. Because we're only reading one chapter here, and then we've got the next chapter in Bhava Bhakti, and then we'll go to Nam Tattva. And it'll sort of be like, we won't be talking so directly about these topics. So will everyone forget these topics as soon as we stop to discuss them? You know?
There are many types of Raganuga Bhakti as there are of Ragatmika Bhakti. Brajanath, how many kinds of Ragatmika Bhakti are there? Babaji, there are two kinds of Ragatmika Bhakti. That which is based on transcendental lust to satisfy Krishna, Kama Rupa, and that which is based on relationship, Sambandha Rupa.
Understand this very clearly because it'll come up many times. There's this Kam Anuga and Sambandhanuga. These two distinct. Sambandhanuga is about making the relationship with the other Brijbasis, Yashoda, Nanda Baba, Sakas, etc. Kam Anuga is specifically on that Sringara Ras with the gopis. They're quite distinct, but both are considered Rag Atmika.
The Manjaris are in which of these?
Kamanuga.
Kamanuga.
Yeah, they have that direct mood towards Sri Radhika. They are tasting everything that Radhika will taste. This is going to be described very soon. This Tat Tat Bhav Ichamai. That will be described, I think, on the next page here.
Brajanath, please explain the difference between Kam Rupa and Sambandha Rupa. Babaji, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 1st chapter, shloka 30 and 31. Kama dveshad bhayat snehad yata bhakteshwara manah avesha tadagama hitva bhavastad gatim gatah. Gopya kamad bhayat kamso dvescha chadhyad nripah sambandhad vrishnaya snehad yuyam bhaktya vayam vibho. Many people have attained the supreme by complete absorption of the mind in devotion through lusty desires, calm, envy, dvesha, fear, bhaya, or affection, sneha, and by giving up the faulty aspects of those sentiments. The gopis have attained the supreme by fixing their mind on Krishna through calm, Kamsa by bhaya, Shishupala and other kings by Dvesha, the Yadus by family relationship, Sambandha, you, the Pandavas, by affection, Sneha, and we sages, Narada and other rishis, by Bhakti.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to unpack this.
6 principles are mentioned here, namely Kam, lust, Bhaya, fear, Dvesha, envy, Sambandha, family relationship, Sneha, affection, and Bhakti, devotion. Two of these, Bhaya, which is fear, and Dvesha, envy, should not be imitated because they are unfavorable sentiments. Now, there are two kinds of Sneha. The first is associated with Sakya Bhav and is included in Vaidhi Bhakti. The second kind is related to Prem and has no application in the field of sadhan. Therefore, Sneh has no place in the practice of Raganuga sadhan bhakti.
Because that sneha is included in Vaidhi Bhakti. And this Raganuga Sadhan Bhakti is beyond that
Sneh.
sneha. So this is what it's
Hmm.
saying. Actually, it's described that Mother Yashoda has so much sneha for Krishna. Her heart is melting in that sneha. There's Grita Sneha and Madhu Sneha, two types of Sneha. Grita Sneha is like ghee,
Chandravaji.
and Madhu Sneha is like honey. So these are different distinctions of Sneha, but we'll come to that later on.
The words Bhaktya Vayam in Shloka 7.1.31 means that we, Narada and other sages, have attained the supreme by bhakti. The word bhakti here should be understood to mean Vaidhi
So
bhakti.
this is the sages and Narad. They have achieved the supreme by Vaidhi Bhakti. But Narad, there's a distinction here, because actually Narad has another swarup of Madhu Mangal, which is in Vrindavan. And he even has another swarup on top of that of Naradiya Gopi. So these are there's a difference here. In his form as Narad, he achieves Lord Narayan through the practice of Vaidhi Bhakti. But when he hears about the pastimes in Braj, then he aspires for that Madhu Mangal, the brother of Nandimukhi and the grandson of Purnamasi. So then he involves himself very much in the most confidential pastimes in Braj with Krishna.
Have attained the supreme by bhakti. The word bhakti here should be understood to mean Vaidhi bhakti and may refer either to the Vaidhi bhakti practices of the sages such as Narad or to devotion mixed with Gyan.
Yeah, mixed with Gyan means that they see the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord, like Uddhav. Uddhav, he's also a Shanta Bhakta in the sense that he sees the Lord in Aishwarya. When we say Shanta Bhakta, that means he's in Vaikuntha realm. In the Vaikuntha realm, there are only 2.5 rasas. Remember what they are? Shanta ras, Dasya ras, a little bit of Sakya ras. Don't forget these. These are the 2.5 rasas of Vaikuntha. In Goloka Vrindavan, there are 12 rasas. So what a huge leap. And all the way through, all the different devotees, they have different flavors and desires of the object of their devotion. They all have pure devotion, but it's not of the same height of Krishna appreciating that devotion as he does with the Ragatmika Gun in Vrindavan itself. We have to see the great gradation between the worlds of Aishwarya and Madhurya. Deeply, we have to understand these two realms, these two prakoshts, they're called chambers of consciousness. They have to be very much, we'll go into this another day.
The words Tad Gatim Gatha means that many people have attained the supreme. It is important to have a clear understanding of this sentence. A single ray of sunlight, Kirana, and the sun itself are one and the same substance, Vastu. Similarly, Brahm and Krishna are also one and the same substance. Brahm is simply Krishna's bodily effulgence. The Jnani Bhaktas merge into that Brahm existence, and so do Krishna's enemies when he has personally killed them. Some of them obtain Sarupya Bhas, a semblance of Sarupya or having a form similar to Bhagavan's, and remain immersed in the bliss of Brahm. According to the Brahmanda Puran, they stay in Siddha Loka, the liberated world beyond the material world.
I'm just wondering, I don't know this, but I want to check it, whether this is actually a mistake. It's saying Jnani Bhaktas, because generally we refer to a Jnani Bhakta as someone who has devotion mixed with Gyan. But the Jnani is that person whose goal is the Brahman. That's what a Jnani is. A Jnani is like a yogi, and he wants to merge into the Brahmajyoti. But a Jnani Bhakta is someone like Uddhav, and he doesn't want the Brahmajyoti. He wants that personal form of Krishna or Narayan. So I'm not sure whether this is correct or not. It says the Jnani Bhaktas merge into that Brahm existence. I'm just would like to check that, whether it means because Jnani Bhaktas are those ones who actually go to serve in Vaikuntha.
Even
Bhishma Dev is a Jnani
Bhishma
Bhakta, and Jad Bharat is a Jnani Bhakta, and Uddhav is a Jnani Bhakta. Prahlad is a Jnani Bhakta. But a Jnani is something completely different, is what's described here. They want to merge into the Brahman existence. That is a Jnani, not a Jnani Bhakta. So I'm just wondering why it's written like that here. I'll try and see if I can check that. Not always the editors, like me, 25 years ago, were so astute on every single word and following, just like in Prabhupada's books also. There are so many discrepancies, but this is one that I have to check, that I'm not sure of that. It doesn't seem to make sense. The Jnani Bhaktas, if you're a Jnani Bhakta, your Gyan is there appreciating the absolute Aishwarya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan in Vaikuntha. But a Jnani is a yogi, and his destination
Maharaj,
is moksha.
I think if we read through the next sentence, the answer is there. Two kinds of jivas reside in Siddha Loka: those who have attained perfection through the cultivation of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and asuras who have been killed by Sri Bhagavan. Among these Jnana Siddhas, some who are extremely fortunate become Ashraya of Rag. The second,
I'm reading it, but I don't see that that reconciles what I'm saying. Two kinds of jivas reside in Siddhaloka: those who have attained perfection through the cultivation of knowledge, Gyan Siddha, and asuras who have been killed by Sri
the next
Bhagavan.
line, some amongst the Jnana,
Amongst the Gyani Siddhas, some who are extremely fortunate become the ashraya of Gyani Siddha. Is not the same as Gyani Bhakta. It's not the same word, is it? Bhakta and Siddha. Siddha means perfection. Bhakta means a sadhak. It's a different. I'm not sure of that. And they worship his lotus feet and thus obtain the ultimate aim of Krishna Prem. We could say a Gyani, or it's saying a Gyani Siddha, then he can attain that. But a Gyani Bhakta is a different. We'll stop here for today, and I'll try to do some research to clear this doubt that I have from the editing of this.
might this word should have been Jnana Siddhis, Jnani Siddhas.
No, this word should have been just Gyani. On the page
491.
491 at the bottom, I think it should have just been Gyani. If it's Gyani Siddha, then it can be answered by this paragraph. But it doesn't say Gyani Siddha, it says Gyani Bhakta. There's a difference. Okay, but basically, I think we all know what is the siddhanta on this. I've explained it very, very clearly. A jnani is like the yogi, and he wants to go to the Brahman. A jnani bhakta has like knowledge of Krishna's Aishwarya. So this principle we should not forget. And this is like Bhishmadev is a jnani bhakta. Uddhav is a jnani bhakta. Jad Bharat is a jnani bhakta. There's a distinction there. So if you know that, that's sufficient to appreciate what's being said here.
The Maharaj, the Jnani Bhakta, the Bhakti is predominant.
Yes, Pradhani Bhuti Bhakti is described. There's Guna Bhuti Bhakti and Pradhana Bhuti Bhakti. Guna is when the guna is predominant, but the Pradhana, what did I say? Pradhana Bhuti Bhakti, that is when Bhakti predominates, yes. So a Jnani Bhakta is when the Bhakti is predominating. It's quite simple. It's not really complex. I just don't know why it's written like that. Okay, we'll check. But it's good to bring this out and to appreciate the different levels, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is starting from the lowest level, and then he's going to work upwards. He's describing those different kind of personalities who actually attain bhakti through these different qualities. So that's what he's attaining. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gold Premanandi, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavyacha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.